Hey yo, what is going on guys? Cash and Clean here. Today I just wanted to go over every single ring ability because I don't think I've done that in a video talking about which character should have which ring ability. Some characters don't even need one because they just aren't that good. But regardless, I'll go over every single class. I'll go over them in alphabetical order, and this will reflect my how to build every single class build video. We had Mr. Squeeze going over all of the builds for every class, so shoutouts to him. And shoutouts to Hellfire for putting this together. I'm just referencing what he has written down, all of the classes and all of the ring abilities, so shoutouts to Hellfire. And before I begin talking about all of these classes, there may be some that you just disagree with, and that is okay. If you disagree, just feel free to drop it down in the comments down below. We can have a little discussion. We don't even have to have a discussion. If you know what you're doing, feel free to ignore what I said, and you can pick the one that you think will benefit your farm the most. These abilities may change. They may be situational. Some of them are viable. Some of them are not viable. It really just depends on the situation, what you're farming for exactly. So that's why if you know what you're doing, then you can feel free to pick the one that you want to go for. I'm also going to leave a link in the description to all of the hidden effects for every single class. So if you want to check them out yourself, you can feel free to see which one you think would be better for you. I'm going to go with what Hellfire has on this list, and I'll add in a little bit of a cash and clean touch for some of the classes. But like I said, people are probably going to disagree with what I say. It's fine. I mean, some of these ring abilities are just straight up situational, so it just kind of depends on what you're going to do in the game. But either way, let's begin with the video. Starting things off with Bard, the one you want to go for is Musical Master. So if you don't know what Musical Master is, I'm just going to put up screenshots on the bottom of the screen of like the description of what each thing does, so it just makes sense. So as you can see, Bard gains a critical damage buff when all 3 Bard songs are active. So that if you don't know what that is, when you use your ultimate, that's going to be the thing at the bottom. You have to do like a little mini game to kind of build up your bar, and you have to get all of the buffs going. So like the attack buff, the healing buff, and then like the speed buff. You get the point. All of that has to be active, and you will get a critical damage bonus. Is it amazing? It's okay, but it is better than nothing. So that's the one for Bard. Moving over to Boomeranger. So Boomeranger has literally the best ring abilities ever. No matter what you use, they're good. Unless you have Blast Bow on a melee, then I guess that's a bit of a problem. But you could just have the option of Blast Bow. So for Boomeranger, I have my ring ability with these two over here. I have a separate Crystal 4 ring with the other one. So in my situation, I don't have Overstuffed Urn, so I have another ring ability that has the Overstuffed Urn in case I need to use it. So since Boomeranger just has all of them that are really good, I'll tell you which ones to use and when. I personally use Cyclone. Cyclone is really good in D15 for grouping up the enemies, same with the Delves. If you're doing the Depths Delve, that is, not Purple Run. If you're doing Depths Delve, it's fine. It's really good because you can gather up the enemies, because if you do your third swing, it just, as you can see, it creates a little swirl and it pulls in the enemies. Sometimes if it's laggy, then it'll be a little bit weird, but regardless, I just like using it because it just pulls in the enemies. It's really nice. And the other thing Cyclone is good for is ships, because if you're doing the Curse School, it'll just pull in the enemy, and if it's a boss, like I said, it'll just pull in the enemy, so it's really handy. And Overstuffed Urn, this one is going to be good for bosses, Leviathans, so Delve bosses, things like that. So what it does is pretty much when you throw your ultimate, like I got this for example, you're going to get an additional effect. So you can get 2 OP effects, you can get 2 bad effects. It's really random, but it's really good even though it's RNG based on what the effect is. You can do some additional damage, and it's just really beneficial if you're fighting something that just has a ton of HP. And the other one is Blast Bow. I currently don't have a bow on him, but pretty much what Blast Bow does is it triggers an explosion on each bow attack. So pretty much you're just going to be doing more damage, and that's what you're going to want to use for Delves. And the additional thing with using a bow compared to a melee weapon is that I can't remember which one of these exactly it is, but I know it's better to use the bow because you either throw the chickens down faster or more of them spawn per explosion there. I don't remember which one it is, but it's one of those two. So that's why it's better to use the bow. And if you do use the bow, just know that you're playing a game like Trove. It's laggy servers. Your hits might not register, things like that. So I just like the melee just a little bit more consistent that way, but overall the bow is way better, and you compare that with Blast Bow. And if you're going for purple runs, doing some Delve stuff, it's gonna be perfect for that. Next up, we got the Candy Barb. So for this guy over here, you're gonna want to use Spin to Win. So what Spin to Win does is when you spin, this is my M2 ability, whatever that is for you guys, whether you're on console or change your keybinds. Basically what it does is it costs energy. So the more you spin, the more energy it'll cost. So you definitely want to build an energy regen type of build if you're using that. And the cool thing about it is that it increases your movement speed, so you can actually use Candy Barb to farm. So not only is he a pretty viable class, he's really not that bad. He's pretty decent. You can use this to pull in enemies. You can't attack while you do this, but he's a good team player, and by team player you can throw your ice cream, give people a nice little movement speed bonus, some attack speed bonus, and it also heals people if they're low. I guess the healing thing isn't really that beneficial, but it's something. But yeah, spin to win, gonna get the extra movement speed, so pretty handy for that. Next up for Chloromancer, you're gonna want to go for the ring ability Gatling. What a name that is. But pretty much what it does is basic attacks have a chance to spawn a little Gatling gun. So pretty much it's gonna spawn one of these things and it'll shoot an enemy. So while you're shooting, this thing will spawn. That's pretty much it. So you're gonna be doing extra damage, so that's why it's pretty nice. And the cool thing about it is that that thing that spawns, it has a chance to spawn in another one, like a smaller one though, like a minier version than this, as the description says. So pretty good stuff. Chloro just, you know, straight up damage. Next up, we got the Dino Tamer over here. So for Dino, you can actually use any one of them, but I'm going off the list here. So Mr. Chomp Chomp, which is your Dino mount, so this thing over here, your ultimate, will spawn a T-Rex minion. So you're gonna be doing some extra damage with that, so pretty handy. I personally have not tested Dino Tamer that much to see what the difference is between that and then Oh My Dinos or the Deep Wounds one. Just reading the description, they seem pretty good, but we'll stick to Mr. Chomp Chomp. I trust what Hellfire has, and it seems like it'd be extra bit of damage, so any bit of damage in Trove is very, very good. Moving over to Draco. So for Draco, you're gonna want to go for Firestorm. So Firestorm is gonna be your M2 ability, whatever that is on console. It's gonna be this guy over here, and the description says it has a chance to grant a buff that allows it to be used freely for a short amount of time. So just extra damage, pretty much that's what it's talking about. And if you're unsure how it works, you can just go over to the little description over here. So just damaging enemies will charge it up, and then if you want to release it, you just use that button to activate it, but I have no charge. It's just straight up coughing over here. Either way, go for that one for Draco. Going over to Fae Trickster. So for here, you'd want to go for one called Mobilize, and what this does is when you use your ultimate, which is your fairy dance, it summons one large enchanted staff, which is pretty cool, and it says it follows you around. I guess we can test it out real quick just so you guys see what it does. So if I use my ultimate here, as you can see, it should, yeah, there we go. It straight up follows you around. That's pretty sick. Never seen anyone use it before, but I'd imagine that to be extremely unreliable though, with how laggy the game is. But if it wasn't laggy, this thing would be amazing. It's like a little personal bodyguard, I guess. Pretty cool ability, and it looks like it lasts for a pretty good amount of time. But yeah, can't go wrong with extra bit of damage. Oh, there you go, it's gone. So it lasts for a pretty good time. Going over to Gunslinger, I can see all of these being viable, but stunning ammo is going to be the one you're going to want to go for. Charged shots have a chance to stun the enemies. That could be kind of terrible though if the enemies are kind of all over the place and you want them grouped up, because then they're just going to stand still and not be grouped up. But if you're not in that situation, you're fighting like a boss or something, then it's amazing. I don't know if it actually works against big bosses, and if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on this, so please don't hate me if I get this wrong, but Berserk Slinger, I believe there's something scuffed about it. I feel like I remember using it, but there's something really weird about that one. Like something just felt completely off, but anyone who mains Gunslinger can probably tell me otherwise, but stunning ammo is going to be the one you're going to want to go for. Next up, we got the Ice Age. So all of these, just from looking at these, all of Ice Age's ones are viable, I would say. But the one I would recommend is Chill Out. So Frozen Ward, which is going to be your ultimate over here, so your bubble. This will trigger when you're at low health. That's really good. And the cool thing about this is that you can stack it. I forgot the method, but you can refer to my all class build video, and you can go to the Ice Age section and have Squeeze explain it to you, but you can have two of the bubbles at the same time. But yeah, highly recommend Chill Out, because there's a lot of stuff in this game that will just straight up one-shot you or just bring you pretty low HP. So the fact that it'll just trigger by itself is really good. Going over to my Knight. So for Knight, you're going to want to go for Overcharge. So what this does is when you use your charge, which is going to be my M5, which I believe if you have the... So I have the Clash Gem. If you remove the Clash Gem, it should still be that, except you're going to do like the fancy movement thing. But it says here that you'll increase your movement speed temporarily. So it just makes it even better for farming. So Overcharge is really good. Now for Lunar Lancer, you're going to want to go for Need for Speed. You can get an insane amount of movement speed with Lunar Lancer. You can go upwards of like 400, 500 movement speed. It's ridiculous. You can go really fast with them. If you're unsure how to do that, go to the Lunar Lancer section for my all class build video. I'm just gonna leave a link to that in the description so you guys can check it out. But Mr. Vash goes over that. The basic idea is when you do this and then grapple to an enemy, you pretty much lunge forward and you just go super fast. But you have to kill that enemy and trigger your effects. It's kind of situational, but you can go really fast with them. So for Neo Ninja, I've seen people use Clone Jutsu. That's a decent one, I guess, if you're trying to do extra damage, but it's also situational and won't always work the way you want it to, which is why you should go for a recharge, which is you're going to be using your energy backflipping, and sometimes you'll just be in the air. So as you're doing your backflips and stuff, you're going to be burning through your energy. Using your dodge ability will increase your energy, which is really good when you're farming, so you can actually jump around in the air while keeping your energy. and you can also remove the Zealous emblem and put on something more damage worthy. So you can actually make Nya Ninja a little bit more damage heavy, so better for farming. So yeah, recharge for sure for him. And whatever you do not use float like a butterfly. You do not want slow fall in this game. I can't really imagine a scenario where you would want slow fall, unless the enemies just straight up one-shot you and you're just trying to stay in the air forever. But Nya Ninja gains no benefits from staying in the air. Like, you need to be at them to do damage. Unless you're using your ultimate, but it's not even that good. Pirate Captain, you want to use Avast E. Basic attacks cause minions to attack the player's target. So if I was fighting a Levi, my turrets would just fight the Leviathan. Basically, whatever I'm fighting. It's really good. But that's not all it does. It applies a debuff, 15% debuff, in fact, to anything that you damage with Avast E. It's really good. Super supportive. Better than Bard. Highly recommend. Low-key just makes Bard a little bit less viable because of that debuff. So I guess sorry to all of you Bard mains out there, but Pirate Captain kind of took the throne with that one. Okay, so for Revenant, I can see all of these being viable. Like, they're actually pretty good, but Vengeful Storm is going to be the one you want to go for because when you're low HP, you're going to have your ultimate trigger just like the Ice Age, for example. But the other one that I can see people using is Speed Spear. So when you're using this over here, as you can see, I'm pretty slow, but Speed Spears makes it so you move at like whatever your movement speed is. Kind of sucks that you take the damage, but I mean, I guess he has life leech. You can kind of get him a little bit more tankier, but oh wait, there you go. So I guess that's how that activates. So you just get a little bit low. Although it said it had a long cooldown. Oh, I guess the cooldown for that thing to activate again probably. It's like a hidden cooldown feature because I can just use my ultimate again. But you guys get the point. So that's for Revenant. Gonna want to go for Vengeful Storm. All right, so for Shadow Hunter. So on the list here, Hellfire mentioned Sneaky Traps. I've always gone for Tactical Seekers though, mainly because that's the one you're gonna want to go for damage. So if you're damaging an enemy, so pretty much how it works is when you're damaging an enemy, the arrows that would usually appear on your head, it would just go attack the nearest enemy. Although I can see both abilities being useful, mainly just situational though, both of them. Because if you're farming and just one-shotting, you're probably not gonna get much use out of the Sneaky Traps, whereas the Tactical Seekers might be a little bit more beneficial in farming. If you're fighting like a Leviathan or something, maybe just go for Tactical Seekers, but I feel like the Sneaky Traps is kind of a niche thing. Like if you're trying to do something very specific and trap enemies and just do sneaky things like that, as the title suggests there. But yeah, I guess depending on your situation, if you know what you're doing and you absolutely need it, go with Sneaky Traps. Whereas in my opinion, I would go with Tactical Seekers though. But feel free to disagree with me in the comments down below if you think something else is better. Although it would probably just be those two. Unholy Heal, there's no point in healing yourself in Trove. You either get one shot or they just don't do enough damage. For Solarion, you're gonna want to go for Prismatic Chain. This is pretty much just a DPS thing. So if you want to do more damage, go for that. There's not really a whole lot to that. That's the one you guys should go for. For Tomb Raiser, you're gonna want to go for Skelbiggle Splits. Okay, I've been calling this the wrong name ever since the beginning of time. I don't know how, but I don't know why, but I always thought it was Skelebig or something like that. I don't know what exactly happened there, but I guess I just added words. Either way, go for that one. More DPS, more damage. Tomb Raiser kind of lacks in it, so definitely go for that one. And last but not least, we got the Vanguard, one of my least favorite classes. But don't let that discourage you if you like this class. So there's two things with Vanguard. You can either go for Champions Congregate. This is going to be like a team player type of move because your ability Fired Up and Force Flash will be applied to 2 of the nearby allies. So two extra people if you're farming with friends and stuff. So this is only helpful if you have friends that are playing Trove. And if you don't know what Fired Up and Force Flash is, you're pretty much giving them, I believe it was movement speed, damage, and attack speed. It's like a little bit of an increase. So if you want to be a team player, go for that one. Although I would just straight up go for that one if I were to pick one of the two. The other one I was going to say is Combo. Combo isn't like super amazing or anything, but the debuff that you would get pretty much with Vanguard, you can have 2 different M2 abilities. So with this one, instead of the laser, you can do fireballs. That applies, I believe it was a 5% debuff to whatever you're attacking. So you guys can do extra damage if it's you or other people. So this ability over here already applies it. Whereas if I were to switch back to my range mode, it wouldn't apply it until I activate that ring ability. So that's why it's like, it's okay, but it's really not that good. So if it was up to me, I would go with Champions Congregate, and that's what Hellfire chose as well. Pretty handy as well if you're farming with friends. If you don't have friends, and that is going to be all of the classes we went over. Like I mentioned in the beginning, there may be some that we disagree on. If you know what you're doing, feel free to just change whatever I said. It doesn't have to be whatever I said. And in the future, this might change depending on whatever the meta is, whatever ends up happening to the game, or if we even have a game in the future. But anyway, that's gonna be all for today's video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, or if you find yourself coming back, and I'll see you guys later.